Bulavanaka, everyone. This is week 14 of Clarkie's Corner, chatting about the Shop and Save Super Rugby Pacific and the Swire shipping Fijian Drua. It is crunch time, no doubt about that. Not only for the Drua, but the other teams looking to lock in a top 8 finish with just 2 matches to go in the regular season. At the top of the table, the pressure is on those teams trying to cement a place in the top 4 and secure a home quarterfinal. Our special guest this week is a key member of the Drua coaching staff, Brad Harris. Buller, Brad, how are you, mate?
Buller Clarkie, thanks for having me, mate. Great to be on board today with you, and it's great to be back here in sunny Nandi after a couple of weeks away in Australia. So really looking forward to this week.
Now, Brad, you've been part of the Fijian rugby setup for some time now. You were there when the men won gold, Olympic gold in Tokyo. You're now with the Drua. You'll assist Simon Raoul Louis with the Flying Fijians at the Rugby World Cup in France later this year. How did the Fiji connection all come about?
It started back in 2018, Clarkie. I finished up after a couple of years with the Georgian national team over in Europe, and a short-term contract was offered to help out with the original Drua in the 2018 NRC season. And came over and lived on the island for 4 months and sort of immersed myself in that team. And we had a wonderful team and a wonderful time. And it was a really successful period for Fiji rugby. We won that comp that year. And then I headed back to Australia, probably thinking that my time was done with Fiji. But then as rugby does, it throws up opportunities all the time. And there was an opportunity for me to come back and work with the national under-20s team. That evolved into the Global Rapid Rugby when that sort of kicked off. When COVID hit and that finished, then as you said, I got an opportunity to move into the sevens realm with Gareth Baber, which was fantastic, and that culminated in the Olympics. And then after that, it evolved further into the Drua's entry into Super Rugby, and sort of 5 years later, mate, here I am, still bouncing around the island and living my best life.
Yeah, and keep up the good work. The Drua, as you mentioned, you're back in Fiji after another unsuccessful road trip, unsuccessful as far as the results go. But this journey is about learning the week in and the week out challenges in this elite competition. So, mate, what are the positives? What lessons have you learned from these road trips?
Look, I think, there's, as you mentioned, mate, there's a challenge to our road trips around our preparation, around our travel, around our diet, and all sorts of things. And look, we're really disappointed with what we put up against the Force away from home. It was a real testy game for us, and we didn't adapt too well with the travel and the time zone and a few other things. Look, we could make excuses, but look, in this competition, you've got to be good away from home as well as you do at home. So we're really disappointed in that performance against the Force, but I thought we bounced back really well against the Tars. They're a good side. And I thought, even right up to that 70th minute, there's only 2 points in the game. And we were pushing hard and we were fighting hard. And then just a couple of little errors as we chased the game at the back end let us down. So even though we weren't happy with what we did against the Force, I thought against the Tars there were some really good signs. And we sort of knew all along that we were going to have these 2 crunch games at the end of the season at home. And it's worked out that way. So whilst we're sort of looking at, potentially some other results need to go our way, we just got to control what we do against Moana this week.
Yeah, more on that in a moment. But the Drua, as you say, you were very competitive against the Waratahs in Sydney last weekend. Final scoreline was 32-18 to the Tars, but that wasn't a fair reflection of the contest. Even the Tars have said it was an almighty battle, but it's an 80-minute game. And it was disappointing not only to lose, but also not to come away with a losing bonus point, which could be crucial.
Yeah, it could be. And look, it's always a balance, coaching the Fijian team. Like, there's sort of 4.5 minutes to go. We're down by 7 points and we've got a bonus point in the bag there. And we go searching on attack, make an error and give them an entry into our 22. And then they score a try with a couple of minutes to go to sort of bounce out of that bonus point realm. And look, we back our boys on the field. We're not going to change the way we play. We play to our strengths, and our strengths is to use the football and to play. But we do need to try and sort of produce a bit more of a balanced game and manage our game a little bit better in those critical moments, and that's part of the journey that we're on with the Drua. A lot of these boys are 2-year professionals, so we review it. We grow from it, we learn from it, and look, the biggest thing that that we're nailing this year is we are getting better with each performance, and we take a lot of confidence out of that.
Head coach Mick Burns said earlier in the week that you guys are going to back the leaders on the field. It's easy sitting in the coach's box, but the guys are out there. They sense the momentum. And do we go for three? Do we put it into the corner? Do we take a quick tap? So this is also part of the learning curve, and the leaders are now just going to have to, learn from every game as well, every decision that they make.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. And look, the beauty about coaching Fijians is even in the coach's box, mate, sometimes we sit back and we're just as much a fan as anyone else when the boys get going. So, one of the biggest challenge we've got is to keep the balance right in our game, letting the boys express themselves, because that's what we're good at. We're not going to beat the top Super Rugby teams playing a New Zealand or Australian style of football. We can be competitive and we can beat them if we're true to Fijian athleticism, power and flair. So, look, finding that balance, striking that balance is a challenge, but, we need to back those leaders, as Mick said, and we're committed to that. They're young, they're a developing leadership group. They've come into a Super Rugby team and they're learning to be leaders along the way, just like all of our players are. They haven't come into an established 20-year-old Super Rugby team with 100 game veterans. They're learning as they go, and the best thing this year is that there's an appetite from those boys to learn and grow and develop, and that's really, really pleasing.
Not all results went the Drua's way last weekend, but you can't do a lot about that. But let's run through the Week 13 results. Crusaders over Moana, 41-7. Blues beat the Reds, 45-26. Highlanders over the Rebels, 20-17. Chiefs beat the Canes, 23-12. Tars, 32-18 over the Drua. The Force, 34-19 over the Brumbies. Now, Brad, the Force and the Highlanders wins really hurt because they leapfrogged the Drua on the competition table.
Yeah, I mean, look, and the Force Brumbies one hurts. We're hoping the Brumbies could do us a favour over there and pip the Force. But look, at the end of the day, the Force played good football and were good enough to beat the Brumbies on the day. I mean, the Highlanders Rebels game was a flip of the coin, really, because whoever won that game was going to leapfrog us. I think it's 17-all in the 85th minute. I was certainly hoping for Golden Point and a draw after 10 minutes. That would have been the dream result. But look, the Highlanders got it done at the end there. And look, again, it's the pointy end of the season. It's going to ebb and flow. We've just got to focus on what we can control, which is our performance this week. And hopefully we start to get some other results go our way. But if we don't, so be it.
And Brad, the Brumbies have been criticised for making wholesale changes, taking not their full-strength team to Perth. Do you have an opinion on this resting policy in the Rugby World Cup here? Because the Brumbies have dropped games against the Force and the Crusaders when resting Wallabies. The Chiefs dropped the game against the Reds a fortnight ago when resting players. Tars were never a show against the Blues a few weeks ago when resting players. Crusaders didn't bring all of their All Blacks to Lautoka and lost to the Drua, etc. What are your thoughts?
Look, it's a tough one. I can understand that, contractually and obligation-wise, when the top-end super players in Australia and New Zealand are topped up by the national bodies, that the Super Rugby franchises are sort of, in a position where they're forced into that. But look, as a product, we're competing with the NRL and the AFL. They play a lot bigger season than us, and they don't have a rest policy in there. So I think that hurts rugby, particularly in Australia. It hurts rugby. Again, here in Fiji, we don't have that issue because our Fijian boys are available for us. Any rest that we do is based on probably workload and welfare and getting out our best team week in, week out. So it's a tough one for the Aussie and the Kiwi teams, but I think it's something that does need to be looked at across the competition because the punters are coming in, subscribing to pay TV on Stan or on Sky Pacific or whatever it might be. They're paying memberships to clubs and they pay their hard-earned cash and they want to see the best players out there playing. So it's probably something that does need to be looked at. It's not an overly long super season. I know that the international season is tacked on to the end of it, but again, I look at NRL, mate, and those guys, the Warriors, they push through and they play, a full season of NRL, start of Origin, and then internationals at times as well. So it's a tough one, but I think it does dilute our competition. And bloody hurt us on the weekend potentially, with the force pip and the Brumbies.
Yeah. Well, the ladder going into the final 2 weeks of the regular season has the Chiefs on top with 50. Crusaders, Brumbies, Blues make up that top four. Hurricanes and maybe the Tars can sneak in and host a quarterfinal. Reds are 7th, 23. 4th, 8th, 22. Highlanders are on 19, Drua 17, Rebels 16. Now, obviously, motivation won't be a problem for the Drua because you have to win both games against Moana this Saturday in Lautoka, and the Reds are following Saturday in Suva to be a chance of playing finals footy. It's as simple as that, isn't it? Win both.
Yeah, it is. And look, I said to the boys yesterday, I said, we just probably need to narrow our focus and focus purely on Moana this week. If we can win this week and play well, then we'll know exactly what we've got to do next week based on the results this weekend. So I think we focus purely on Moana. We know the challenge that they'll bring. They haven't managed to win yet this year, but geez, they've been playing some good football, pushed a lot of teams, and this is almost like a little final for them a couple of weeks out before the end of their season. So they'll be motivated. They'll bring their power game, certainly, at the start of the game. So we've got to be ready to match that physically and then hopefully, use our athleticism and our flair to hopefully pull away at some point.
Well, the Reds are away to the Highlanders and the Drua. The Force have the Rebels away, the Chiefs at home. The Highlanders have the Reds at home and the Blues away. Rebels have the Force at home and the Brumbies away. So the only team fighting for 7th and 8th spot with 2 home games is the Drua. So that sets things up nicely, no doubt about that.
Yeah, it does. And look, even though the results didn't go our way last week, I think, as you just mentioned, there's some games where guys are really fighting it out amongst themselves now for that top 8 or that 7th and 8th position. So we knew that at the start of the season, we were, particularly before the first bye, we had, I think, only 2 games out of 6 at home, and that was tough. We had to travel and earn the right to get these 2 games at home. So we feel like we've done the hard yards and put ourselves in a good position. And one thing we know that when we get our game right at home, we're bloody hard to beat, So hopefully, this week we can get our game right. We can be really good when we've got the ball. We can be really physical and disciplined when they've got the ball. And we know that when we do get that right, we can test any team in the comp. And we've shown that when we toppled the Crusaders and we toppled the Hurricanes. But both of those results came on the back of getting some fundamental parts of our game right first. So that's a big focus for us this week.
And Brad, people assume that it's the passionate crowd and the heat that gives the Drua an advantage at home. But this squad has improved a great deal in the second year, has it? It's just not that passionate crowd. It's not the heat, the humidity.
No,
it helps.
I think there's factors. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely, that helps. And look, we've got the benefit of adapting to it. We train in it. We work in it every day. But I think that. The other thing is, I think just our boys being in our home environment is a massive factor. We're able to spend our days together at our home base. We're able to get our gym work done, get our meetings done, eat together, spend a lot of downtime together, get really focused and get really connected. And I think sometimes when we're away from home in a hotel, we don't get to bring our whole squad, and that's another big factor. When we're at home, we're all together, and it's a real family-based environment that we've got. It's a real brotherhood that we've got with our group, and we operate and we function best when we're all together, when we're at our home base, spending time together, getting really focused, getting really connected, and really making sure that we get our preparation right. So I think that's probably a big factor for us as well. But look, without doubt, mate, the heat and the home crowd are factors. But I think that, what it does is it probably just highlights that when we do get our game right around what we want to do with the ball, what we want to do when we don't have the ball, I think that the humidity in the crowd play a factor after we get that right.
Yeah. And what is the plan for Moana Pacifica on Saturday in Lautoka, Churchill Park, 2 p.m. kickoff local time? Coach Aaron Major has confirmed that he's going to be moving on at the end of the regular season. So what are you expecting from the opposition?
I mean, look, I think, everything that we know about Moana from the last couple of times that we've played them in, and having looked at their games closely, they bring a very physical, confrontational power game. That won't change. They haven't changed from last year. They're effective at that. So we expect them to come hard at us early in the contact zone. We expect them to play a strong set piece base game, probably kick a bit of field position, try and pin us down in our corner, try and control possession, try and, as I said, be really physical in all the contact areas. So we've got to make sure that our contact area is accurate, both with and without the ball, and make sure that we're really disciplined. And I think one of the key things for us is going to be trying to get big ball in play minutes, making sure that we can stretch their big fellas, run them around in the heat and the humidity, as we said, and then hopefully, if we can get those parts of our game right, then we can use our flair and our skill set at the back end of each half.
What's it going to be like for the Fijian Drua, because they're playing another Pacific Island team in the Pacific Islands for the very first time? No doubt some of the guys would know the guys because you played a couple of times beforehand and you've beaten Moana twice. But it's a battle of talent on the field and also culture as well, I guess. Everyone wants bragging rights.
Yeah, that's right. And look, I think it's a real great story of Super Rugby Pacific, isn't it? The Moana Drua battles. I think both teams bring their own unique skill set, and I think it's the fans have embraced it, the public's embraced it. I think that when I spoke to the boys again earlier this week, I just said, who's played for Fiji against Tonga and Samoa, and a couple of international boys said that they had, and they just said it was the Battle of the Pacific, and it's almost just like two teams going at it, hammer and tong, and may the strongest survive. So we know that we've got to be on physically, but I think what will happen is after those initial physical battles, I think the game will loosen up a bit, and both sides will throw the ball around. I think the crowd, both here at the ground and those watching, are in for a real treat.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to calling it, no doubt about that. It's a no-brainer to me that Moana Pacifica should be playing more games in Samoa and or Tonga. And how do you feel about that? Because you were in Australia, based in Australia at Lennox Head with the Drua in the first year because of COVID and all that. The difference that it makes to be playing at home, how big a difference is it?
It's massive, mate, massive. So for us last year, we've spoke about it quite a bit at length, and you're aware, Clarkie, because you spent a bit of time with us over there in Australia last year, but we were sort of operating in our own little bubble over there and working away, and we did a lot of great things, but when we got the opportunity to come late last year to come home back to Fiji and play a few games in front of a full house and be appreciated by the fans and the rugby public, it was a real watershed moment for our blokes. I think they felt like professional players then. They felt like what they were working for was bigger than just what we were achieving on the field. It was being embraced by the country, embraced by the fans. And I think Moana probably are missing out on that at the moment as well. I know they took one game there against the Reds, but I was actually quite disappointed. Logistically, I don't think it could have worked, but it would have been great for us in round one to play them over in Apia or Tonga. I'm not sure they have the facilities in Tonga at the moment, but I know in Apia they do, and I think the more games they can get there and get the public backing behind them, I think, and get a bit of home ground advantage and heat and humidity, and just for the well-being of the players, I think it's critical that they try and get some more games there.
And Brad, judging by my time calling the Drua home games and spending time with the lads, the difference between last year and this year is quite amazing. I've just seen them grow, not only on the field, but, around training and around the headquarters and around the fans. They're embracing this professional atmosphere. Still, there's humility there, no doubt about that. But I've seen them grow. What about from a coaching point of view, from your point of view, and maybe you don't want to pop up too many tires or mention too many names, but are there any stories there? Have you seen one of the guys or a few of the guys just come ahead leaps and bounds? Who's giving you some great satisfaction over the 2 years so far?
Oh, look, I think you could probably talk about any one of the 1 to 36, 137 squad players that we've got. Last year they were thrown together off the island, most of the boys. First year as a professional, coming off the back of 2 years of COVID, having played no rugby on the island. So I think as a coaching group, we came together last year and we were looking at, right, how can we mould these boys together? How can we be successful? And there was just so much to do that we focused on a couple of big things. But year two, the boys have knuckled down, got themselves fit, and really worked hard. And it's a credit to the boys now that they're professional in their preparation, they're professional in their lifestyle, and they're professional in their diligence, and they're just grown. In terms of some of the individuals, I look at people like Kala Revolvo. He's a guy who was plucked from the Skipper Cup 2 years ago, playing Skipper Cup, the local domestic competition on the island. Came across last year, and look, we all knew he had a ton of talent. Had a breakout season, did some wonderful things with the ball. Managed to go on a flying Fijian tour, played a Tier 1 test against Ireland, didn't look out of his place, has really knuckled down, got his lifestyle right off the pitch, dedicated, committed, World Cup year, has signed with Bristol, so he's making life-changing money that can help him and his family. But he's just grown his appetite to learn. He's grown in his appetite to develop himself professionally. And I look at the stuff that he's doing on my side now with the defence, and it's just a credit. And he's one of many, I look at Penny Matawalu, who was an original Drua in 2018 as a 18-year-old. Again, COVID probably kept him on the island. He would have been offshore if it wasn't for COVID already before the Drua came about. But he's come about through the hard yards, and again from Skipper Cup, bounced around flying Fijians, and he's come in this year. Frank Lamont, he's been injured for the last few weeks, and I just take my hat off to what he brings. He's not a flashy Australian or New Zealand number 9, but my goodness, he is as tough as anyone that plays Super Rugby, I can tell you.
Yeah, and of course, a lot of the forwards, the back rowers, they've grown leaps and bounds as well. The coaching setup, so Mick, yourself, Greg Fleming, Jacko, and of course your strength and conditioning, and so on and so on. It all seems to be, one big happy family, and you're thriving in that environment and bouncing ideas off each other. When I see you, anyway, I'm sure there's a few heated moments from time to time, but it's going quite well. You're happy?
Yeah, it's good. Look, I think Greg's been a wonderful addition. We had Simon Ralui helping us a little bit last year, but he was sort of juggling multiple jobs. So we were probably one full-time staff member down, which sort of meant we all couldn't focus on our own areas as much as we probably needed to. And so Greg's been a wonderful addition. We've all grown. Like the playing group, we were a brand new coaching group last year, and we got through that year. We reviewed. We strategised around how to run a better program, and I think, you're seeing those results on the field, and we're blessed from an S&C perspective to have Master Nuther, who's won 2 Olympic gold medals, been to multiple World Cups, and there is no better person on earth to train a Fijian athlete than that man, I can tell you. So, we've got a great setup, and I think the players are thriving in the environment, and I think, if we continue to grow each year, then my goodness, look out in this competition in years 3, 4, or 5 of what the capability of this group could be.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Okay, running through this week's games, Friday, Highlanders versus the Reds and the Rebels and the Force. So 2 games that could impact the Drua's top 8 chances. And you'll be watching very closely, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, one of the things I tried to do, probably about a month ago, I was probably sweating on the results and having a look at a bit more than probably I needed to. So I think I made a conscious decision a couple of weeks ago to just focus purely on us and just watch and then review afterwards. But, I mean, it's a tough one. It could go either way. Both teams are, bringing some form into the game, so it'll be interesting to see how it pans out.
Yep. So Highlanders versus the Reds, Rebels and Force. That's Friday. Saturday, Drua versus Moana in the Toka, as we know. And folks, if you haven't already bought your tickets yet, don't leave it too long. if you are purchasing tickets on the day, we'll get to Churchill Park nice and early because kickoff is 2 p.m. local time in Lautoka. Then after that, it's the Crusaders and the Waratahs, Blues and the Hurricanes, Brumbies versus the Chiefs. Gee, three great games to finish the round, Brad. We'll all be watching those, no doubt, just for pure entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be interesting. I mean, look, our game we've spoken about, so there's a fair bit at stake there for us, and we know that Moana will be motivated to come over and put in a performance and search for their win. Interesting to see how the Waratahs go over there. I feel like that's a tough old road trip over there, isn't it? You know, and they've hit a bit of a purple patch and are playing some good football, so it's a good opportunity for them to test themselves out against one of the form teams. And the Brumbies Chiefs, you know, the Brums rested some last week, so they'll be pretty fresh. But again, the Chiefs are playing great football, and both of those teams will get a gauge for where they're at on the eve of the finals. So I'll certainly be watching those games after we finish.
Now, our special guest this week on Clarkie's Corner podcast is Brad Harris on the coaching team at the Drua. And Brad, while we've got a little bit of time left, mate, the Flying Fijians, how are things coming along in preparation for the Rugby World Cup? Because you will be with Simon and Daryl Gibson and Glenn Jackson, to name a few, in the coaching setup for the Flying Fijians.
Yeah, it's exciting. Look, you know, we get together weekly and have a catch up, and I really like what Simon's brought to the head coach role there. I think he's got you know, he's Fijian. He understands the culture. He understands the game model that we need. He's also got the experience of having coached at Tier 1 level, you know, with the Wallabies at the last World Cup. So I think that we've got a great mix in the coaching group, and I think that, you know, the potential squad that we're going to assemble is really exciting. We're sort of just building now at the moment around what that squad might look like, building our game model. Luckily, we've got the PNC. We've got 3 games in the lead up before we head over and play France and England as our final warm-up games. But geez, it's an exciting time when you look at the quality of the potential squad that we've got. You know, we're going to have the best of our Drua boys, topped up with some fantastic European-based players that are at the top of their game. You know, so it's really exciting, really exciting.
And a nice feather in your cap as well. More experience heading off to a Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, it's great. I'm super excited. Personally, for me, challenged myself. I've been focusing on defence the last couple of years and get an opportunity to go back and look at line out and a bit more forward play. So I'm excited to challenge myself, yeah, and grow in that space again. And just, I tell you, mate, I can't wait to get over there. We've got Wales in that first game, and then we play the Wallabies, and then we've also got Georgia, who I was involved with a few years ago. So personally, for me, just a great opportunity to test myself against some great countries, and I can't wait. You know, I think that, you know, the Fiji public deserve a team that can go over there and really push the boundaries and test and try and hopefully, you know, get out of our pool and qualify for a quarter final. I think it'd be a great achievement if we can do that.
Yeah. Now, the Fijian 15s lost their test match against the Wallaroos last week, but every game is another opportunity for the Fiji women to improve. They need experience. The Fiji Airways Fiji men's sevens had a much better result at the London leg last weekend, reaching the final. They lost to Argentina in the decider, but it was a better result than the last few tournaments. Now, as a former member of the coaching staff with the Fiji Sevens, do you keep a close eye on the rebuilding program?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, I thought the Fijiana were fantastic in that first half. I thought that, they created some chances and they executed a couple of them. It's probably a different game. And look, I think they've got an understanding now that it's going to be a bit of a step up from the Fijiana Drua. It's now international football, but they've got a wonderful coaching staff and they've got a tremendously talented group of athletes that are growing. And I think, you know, I look ahead to that next Rugby World Cup, and I think female Rugby World Cup, and I think, my goodness, the Fijiana could really do something special there. You know, I think they've got talent. They just need to, you know, get the resourcing and get their program right, and I think that they could really kick on and push for higher honours in that. So I think it's an exciting time for the Fijiana and the female game in Fiji, without doubt. With the sevens, yeah, certainly. I haven't been involved only 2 or 3 years ago. There's not so many boys that have sort of stayed involved, but from our end with the Drua, you know, it's probably seen as a bit of a pathway in Fiji rugby into the Drua and into the 15-a-side games. So I certainly keep a close eye on that. And there's a couple of couple of players in there that, are certainly worthy of consideration for the 15s game. And look, if they want to stay in sevens, and the boys do want to stay in sevens, and that's great. But if they are ambitious to go into the 15s game, then, our Drua team offers a pathway on the island now. They don't have to head offshore in order to do that. So certainly keep an eye on them. And as you said, they had a much better result in London on the weekend. That semi-final against New Zealand was fantastic to watch. So good to see them hold on at the end there. Delighted for, Ben and the management and the players. I know that they've been under a bit of pressure, and it was great for them to get a win in that semi-final.
And so, judging by what you're saying, some of the current sevens boys could make a transition to 15s post-Olympics. But Paris Olympics next year, do you think some of the Drua will be released for Olympic duty if required? Has that come up yet? Because there's talk in Australia already that now the Aussie men and the women have qualified, but the Aussie men got through just in automatic qualification. There's even talk in the press that maybe Michael Hooper, who won't be with the Waratahs next year, might just stay around for a little bit longer and have a crack at becoming an Olympian. Mark Nwanganita-Wasi has been there before with sevens. He might have another crack, etc. So what about the drill players?
Yeah, look, I think there's a number of our boys that would certainly have an appetite for that. A lot of it's probably going to depend on, their health and their fitness at the end of the Super Rugby season. But I certainly think, there's any number of our boys that could quite easily push for consideration there. Like Steno, Kitty Salawa, a number of those boys would be right in the selection frame, I would have thought. I know at the last Olympics we brought back 3 foreign-based boys: Semiran Radra, Philemoni Batitu, and we brought back who was the third one off the top of my head? Mini Tuimamba. We brought him back as well. So those 3 boys had been involved with the sevens previously. Look, it'll probably come down to Ben and how he sees that fit with the current base that he's got. But I think the beauty of our program being on the island is that hopefully there can be some sharing of players both ways. I think if some of those sevens boys see a pathway to 15s, they can jump into our program. And if some of our boys are of interest to him and they have an appetite to do it, then, having them go back for an Olympics would be fantastic as well.
Melly Darren-Alungi, been there, done that. Can he go back again?
Yeah, he could go back for a double gold without doubt. I think even someone like Rossessi, our big fullback, would be wonderful. Look, to be honest, at the last Olympics there, we probably could have picked. We're the toughest selections. We could have picked 2 or 3 teams, I think, that were very quite even and could have gone over there and pushed to win gold. So I think that, it's probably going to be a similar case at the next year for the Olympics for Ben and the team to pick a final squad is going to be tough, and hopefully some of our boys do put their hand up, because it's a wonderful experience, and it's the pinnacle of world sport. It's probably not quite the pinnacle of rugby. I think the Rugby World Cup probably still eclipses it, but in terms of the pure world stage, going to Olympics is a wonderful experience.
Well, that's all in the future, but for now we look forward to the game between the Swire shipping Fijian Drua and Moana Pacifica at Churchill Park, Lautoka. It's 2 p.m. this coming Saturday. And Brad Harris, thank you for your time. And I really look forward to catching up this week. And mate, all the best on Saturday, the following week in Suva, and the playoffs as well, hopefully.
Yeah, mate, hopefully. Good on you, Clarkie. Appreciate it.
And that's it for another week. Thanks for your company wherever you're watching around the rugby world. I'm Greg Clark. Bye for now. Mo there.